We could totally ramble on.
So, yeah, we're going to be playing Star Wars.
Star Wars D6, not the D20.
Yes,
Yeah.
cover of book coming up.
Yeah.
Pass it that way.
So, what year did this come out?
1990 something.
Yeah.
Or 89, I think was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
This first printing, October 1987.
Oh, I was off.
That's okay. So, yeah. If you don't know by now, we're all nerds.
Yes.
We are nerds.
Super nerds.
And we love Star Wars and Star Trek. But, you know.
Hi, Radio, you made it! Radio! Yay!
So, I have been desiring to do a sci-fi game for a while.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff we do is fantasy. We just got finished last night with a thriller/horror, which, if you didn't check us out last night, please do so. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there was a desire to do a sci-fi game, and I have a lot of passion for a couple of systems. And how do I put this? I was not sure what would go well with my players. I like BattleTech, and that's a sci-fi game, but it's really hard with the numbers. I liked Alternity, which Evan, one of our other players, is helping me set up character sheets. It's very heavy in the numbers, and I like the system a lot. And apprehensively, I decided to kind of get a feel, and I got a feel for Star Wars and my players.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey guys, I'd like to run a Star Wars game. And the meatball that rolled down the hill was just crazy.
We've been pretty obsessed with it since you went Star Wars.
Like, let's put it this way. I've been
Yeah.
obsessed with Star Wars for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yes. The franchise. The whole thing.
Yeah. The whole
Like
thing.
everything.
The legend stuff, the canon stuff, the George Lucas fuck up stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because it
Metachlorians!
you know,
Oh,
Calm
sorry.
down.
it's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
It's fine.
Mentioned once, never mentioned again.
But yeah, so I love Star Wars. So much so that when I was in high school, there was a writing group online called the Bounty Hunters Guild, and you had to create your character using a point system.
Shit.
And then every week or so, they would post bounties, which was a story that you have to write about how your character was able to fulfill the contract. And they scored your writing. They judged how well you wrote and the story you came up with and everything that was and that's how you leveled your character, was by the score that you got.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
And sometimes, you know, even if you write that you failed, if it was a good story, you would still get points for it. So I did that a lot.
That's really, really
It
neat.
was so cool. And I was a really shitty writer back then. I mean, not that I'm not right now. But anyways.
Don't start.
And but it was so fun. And and then over time, the people who ran it were, growing up, having lives, and then the website went dead. And so, I haven't had my makeup Star Wars stuff for a really, really long time. And I'm so excited.
So, actually, a while ago, the way I got introduced to this system was John actually told me about it, and then he wanted to try his hand at game mastering. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. So we made a character for me, and John started game mastering and everything. We didn't do it that often, but it sparked the love for this system. And just being able to play a Jedi, which is really, really cool anyway, because I've loved Star Wars since the first time I ever saw it whenever I was younger, and then when the new episodes came out. But, still, it's been really, really cool, and whenever they, brought it up, I was like, yes, let's do this, and just, fell into it, started doing backstory. I made us a whole timeline, and spreadsheet of the timeline, all the big interesting things that happen during each date that we will be playing in and kind of like working in to our story so we could have it as close to canon as possible.
We have
but
chosen to take things from Legends that we thought are super cool.
Yes.
And because like there's just some things that, you know, it's like, man, that really is awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that in our Star Wars fan fiction game.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's exactly what it is. We are writing ourselves into canon.
Yep.
So it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be super fun.
It's gonna be better than canon.
It is. So the way we're actually gonna play the games is in timeline sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be the journeys of our individual characters through that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So the main focus of some of the episodes will be on one specific character. This episode is about Cassie's character. And John and I are playing NPCs that are just kind of around her character and helping her out. So...
Yep. And then, so we decided that, like, all of us get 3 episodes.
Yes.
So there's gonna be a total of 9 for this introductory kind of character building and background stories that we're doing. These are the prequels.
These are the prequels
to what will be the game that we form after all of our prequels are completed.
Yeah.
And we are starting out in 44 BDY 44.
Yep.
Because my character is the oldest one. By a bit, I think. No,
John's
character is the oldest.
John's character is the oldest.
But instead of starting by ages, we like, because that's kind of what we were thinking at first, and then we realized that keeping it to the timeline was going to work so much better. But my 3 are not going to be in back to back.
Yeah.
So it'll be like whoever's like event happens after 44, which I think is going to be 42.
It's going to be John's first episode.
And then, so we're going to keep going down the line and get through everything. Our goal is to get up to 20 or 19? 19 BBY.
Are we talking about, oh.
Yes.
It's like...
Yes. Yeah, so our official campaign start date in the timeline... Yeah, it's 15. BBY 15 is where all of our characters meet, and we kind of let our main characters meet, and then we kind of go from there, and that's whenever our official campaign start date begins.
Yes.
So, super exciting.
Yes.
So, they said a lot of the stuff that is really important, and they were so excited about this table that we're playing on.
Oh yeah.
They built this table specifically so that we can have this little sit down gathering to play at. I mean, this is really amazing.
Yeah,
this is our official gaming table. Not that it has this mat on it, but it's just at the point so we can sit down on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I have some Tammy mats that we kind of like roll up and make into chairs, and
our plan was the hurricane was going to hit, and we were just going to storm it out.
And
exactly.
If we lost power, we were just going to, crank up the generator and record these and post them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we have power and internet, so
that's right.
That's what's happening.
What are we doing on Monday?
Playing Star Wars.
Playing Star Wars. Good answer.
We might
we
even
don't
be
have
playing Star Wars tomorrow.
I mean, that'd be great.
I don't have a problem with any of that. I have. Because I like talking about game mastering, I'm going to give the audience an approach of how I'm going to deal with this. There are 3 main functions to running a tabletop game, and these are the elements in which are included, or the basis for everything. They are story, lore, and then character development. And you can say that you can do all 3, but the truth is you can't successfully do all 3. And I will argue that one, and we will do Let's Chats and talk on our Discord about it. So for this one, I'm focusing on lore and character development. Just these 2 pieces. I'm not developing a story. There's no overarching thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and because this is what's my satisfaction, going to be mostly about the character development and the story, the lore involved, and everything from Jedis to Mandalorians to space stations in strange nebulas, interdiction fields, hyperdrive, droid armies, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Their first 3 stories are going to net them individually. Their stories are going to net them not only character points for development, but attribute points that are automatically going to go into their attributes for development. Star Wars system has a decent speed at which characters develop at. As you get higher in, it becomes harder to develop. And I want them to be not like a veteran, but more so beyond a veteran-like status. Almost elite-like. If you want a comparison, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader were definitely well beyond an elite status. The Emperor was godlike.
Yeah.
And so that's the direction I want to head. And then once we break into the real group dynamics, hopefully we can mesh them up nicely. And they will all have a following that goes along with some of the plot points that get laid out. Modules. I found a lot of modules that I'm going to be modifying to have fun with, and we'll be doing that. Let's see, what else needs to be mentioned?
Should we talk a little bit about our characters, or should we wait until our first episodes? I mean, we can kind of give, like, sort of an overview of who our characters are, just not go into detail.
Well, we can talk about the system. Let's talk about the system first and get that out of the way so they get an idea what's going to be going on.
Excellent.
So, Star Wars Role-Playing Game is a D6 based, and a lot of you who are familiar with Shadowrun will be like, hey, that looks kind of familiar. Yeah. So let's start off by saying that being D6 based, it's multiple D6s. You have a character's attributes and a character's skills, and they'll be listed like 2 dice or 3 dice or 4 dice.
Mom's about to come in.
And when you roll your thing, you'll be tallying all the numbers up. So you might hear us say, oh, well, my skill is 3d plus 2, which means 3 dice 6 plus 2, and so you'll roll. And what I will be doing is giving out difficulty numbers based upon the difficulty range provided, and the players are going to try to be beating that number. There are modifiers along the way that increase and decrease, and they have some interesting mechanisms in the system, such as I'll give that a modifier to the DC because of maybe range or something along those lines, and then sometimes the modifier can be random. So I'm interested in seeing how that works out. This game uses perception for initiative, and those people who have a higher perception generally will go first.
Perception is it has a lot of skills attached to it.
A lot
of
them.
necessary skills.
A lot of necessary skills attached to it.
Well,
yes.
I mean, that is very true to life, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't pay attention, then
they really put a pin in. They're just like, oh, this works out really well. I'll stick with it. Damage is the same too. You get a damage, you take so much points of damage, and then you roll against your armor. Armor is a modifier to your strength, and so you're rolling your strength, total strength, to kind of block damage. So that's kind of cool too. Another and the final most important mechanism the audience needs to be made aware of is the wild dice.
Oh, yes.
I forgot.
Like in Shadowrun, we have edge that we can use. Well, in this game, they have a wild dice. So let me open up my handcrafted dice box provided to me by Jeff.
Yes.
One of our audience
Ooh,
members.
Is that the new one?
This is the...
I have the old one.
You have the old one?
Hold on. I'm going to show... This was Gen 1.
That was Generation 1.
Generation 1.
And this is Generation 2. Produced by Jeff Wood. He's a carpenter, and his last name's Wood. How ironic.
Did you just realize that?
No,
okay,
I knew it.
okay.
I'm punning.
But
So, a dice roll will come about in which, like an example, 4 dice. One of the dice is a wild dice. When rolled, the wild dice, if it comes up as 6, can be rolled again. There's something that happens when it's a 1. Do you remember what that is?
Something bad happens.
That's right. So if you roll and all your dice and all the numbers are really good, you can succeed in your task. But if the wild dice is a 1, something bad will happen along with whatever you attempted to do. So if you wanted to throw a grenade, you would be successful at throwing your grenade, but you make yourself exposed and someone gets a free shot on you.
Or a power cell explodes next to you,
yeah.
hurting somebody. So
It's true.
So that's a dice mechanic that is important.
I feel like that's really fun and adds a bit of chaos.
It does.
In a very orderly system.
And so, when a wild die is a 1, the game master can choose between adding the dice normally, be like, meh, I'm not worried about it, or total up the number, but a complication occurs, which is what we just discussed, or take the 1 and the highest die out of the whole setup, the dice roll.
Yeah. Lots of things.
Lots of fun. I don't look forward to that.
Yeah.
Even if it's like something that like is going to be good for my character, like I still
So I will
That's
say,
okay.
like, even the wild die, I can't remember specifically the task that I was doing whenever I was with John and like role playing that, but I rolled and my wild die was a 6, and then I re-rolled it and it's 6, and then re-rolled it again and 6. So I was like starting level character and doing heroic things.
Nice.
It was insane.
The last thing is if the players or the NPCs pass or fail by greater than 15, something spectacular happens. So, like rolling a 1 on the wild dice, losing by 15 can create a complication, but it's going to be, and the words are, spectacular. So, in the sense of throwing the grenade, if you failed by 15, you threw the grenade into your own munitions. That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that's real bad.
yeah, that's great.
That's real bad. Great, but real bad.
Yes, Death. This, that's Bear.
Yeah, this is Bear. He was a rescue. From John found him. John found him on Craigslist whenever he lived in Tampa, while he was going to college down there. And Bear is 9 years old. You can see all the gray. He's lived a very hard life of sleeping, getting dog treats, and snuggles.
Yeah, he stresses over things he can't control.
He is a very particular dog.
Stress life.
Yeah,
Stress.
particular.
I'm gonna pull on your
But
baby.
he's so beautiful, and I love all his extra neck skin. I want to nom nom.
All right. So I think that covers the mechanics that are important. Wild dice, greater or less than 15, D6 based system, modifiers generated by myself.
And a lot of real world skill sets.
Skill sets. The last thing is scale. So, and I think this is important too, and it's the last piece of rules I want to cover, is scale. You start off with the scale character, and then you move the speeder, and then walker, starfighter, and basically this is a difference in size. In some game system, they address this by giving it some sort of simplified modifier. This is a separation by dice. And so there's a tiny little chart and how it affects things. And so if you pull out your blaster and you decide to shoot at the walker, there's a modifier to how much damage you're going to do, how well you're going to hit really well. But you're not going to the walker's going to get bonus dice to do. What are you doing?
Right.
That tickled.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Hit me with a blaster.
That tickles.
Laurie Under, thank you for joining us. This is actually going to be our first show for... Oh, I don't have the book now. Where'd it go off to?
Here.
Cover the book. Star Wars D6 system.
Roleplaying game.
Yes.
right now we are waiting on our third player who had an emergency phone call, so hopefully he'll be able to join us shortly. As you can see, we're gonna be at the table together.
That's right.
Oh man.
This is very casual, so you
Yep.
will get us in our very raw form.
Nothing. This is rehearsed.
Yeah.
We planned some stuff, but
Yeah.
none of it's rehearsed.
Yeah, and it never is.
The little stuff in between, like we know the big events that we want to happen in our timeline, but we just don't know how successful we will be. Ish.
Cool.
Excellent.
All right, so that's mechanics I'm done with. So we wanted to talk about
Characters?
Characters?
Like a small overview, a peek at what our followers, our listeners, our watchers will be privy to.
Sure.
Nice.
I'll go first. I'm everyone
Except for our character.
except for those three.
Correct.
So, yeah, I'm done.
Excellent.
Cool. I am playing, yes!
Yay!
So,
Your turn.
I'm playing Shay Muriel. She is the daughter of Jaster Muriel, the leader of the True Mandalorians, who died when she was 8 and has been essentially raised and, trained by her brother, Jango Fett, adopted brother.
Adopted brother.
And, yeah, I'm super excited about it. Then my character goes through a lot of shit
Yeah.
and ends up being a bounty hunter.
Yep.
So, yay.
Woo! You want to tell a little bit about your character? We're just kind of doing preliminaries.
My actual character or
Yes,
tonight's
your
character?
actual character.
Oh, my actual character.
Yeah.
Well, which won't be introduced until our next game session.
Yeah.
Because John is next on the timeline.
So I'll just tease a little bit.
Yeah.
He is a droid of special production. Started his life as property of the Republic on a remote scientific outpost where droids needed to be multifunctional because supplies were short and, the more they could do, the better. So his life went sideways. Stay tuned to find out how. Dun dun dun! But yeah, gosh, what else should I say about him?
I think that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent.
You're a droid. You're awesome.
Yep. I can do many of the knowledge tech mech things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
Yes. And you?
Me, my character's name is Sinreal Basliff. She is a very young Force sensitive whenever we first meet her, and she is taken into the Jedi Academy and trained up.
She's gonna be a Jedi someday.
I aspire to be a Jedi consular. That is what I want to be whenever I grow up big and strong in the Force.
Excellent.